Australian wine, it's a hit in China. Every third bottle the Chinese import comes from an Australian vineyard. Last year, that added up to 800 million euros worth of wine. But this year, the numbers are set to dry up, as China is putting stiff tariffs on Aussie wine. The official reason, China accuses the Australian government of subsidizing their vineyards, thus allowing their product to be sold cheaper, undermining the Chinese market. That, according to Beijing, made it impossible for Chinese vintners to establish and grow their own business. The Australian government disagrees.
It is of great concern that China has taken this action, and it is an action that comes on top of an accumulation of other actions during the course of this year in particular.
In fact, Beijing has previously levied import taxes on Australian barley and has hindered or stopped imports of Australian coal and beef. To many, it seems that Beijing is retaliating after Australia criticized the country for the coronavirus outbreak and demanded an investigation. Chinese officials have previously stated their anger. We have said on many occasions that Australia has repeatedly taken wrong words and deeds on issues involving China's core interests and major concerns, taking provocative and confrontational actions. This is the root cause of the current difficult situation in China-Australia relations. Beijing has authored a 14-point memo explaining to Australia how to behave in order to have more successful trade relations. It includes no more criticism of China with regards to COVID, as well as support for China's embattled telecom equipment maker Huawei. Australia finds itself between a rock and a hard place. After all, 40% of the country's exports are to China.
Let's dig a little deeper into the story with Clifford Coonan from DW Business. Clifford, good to have you. China says it's introducing these tariffs to protect their domestic market and because, Australian wine has been illegally subsidized. That's what Beijing says, but that's not the whole story, is it?
No, I think in recent years we've become used to socialism with Chinese characteristics and capitalism with Chinese characteristics, and now I think we're getting a taste of globalization and free trade with Chinese characteristics. I think what they're doing is they're putting pressure on Australia. It's political, and the political always outweighs the financial when it comes to China. I think protecting the Chinese wine industry, which is very small, is not something that you would, it doesn't really add up when you consider how much Australian wine goes in. And I think it's definitely a political thing rather than an economic thing.
The EU and China are currently working on a trade agreement. Does this have any impact, the spat between China and Australia, on these negotiations with Europe?
Well, it's interesting. The EU Parliament has just given its permission for these to continue now and to actually go ahead and sign this pact. One thing the Australians said today, though, was that trading with China is risky. And I think what this is a warning that the EU can't go sort of hell for leather into a free trade deal when clearly it's not as free trade as it appears to advertise itself, and that they need to really consider about what terms they're going to be required to provide goods to China.
Australia and China have a free trade agreement, strong trade ties, as we've seen in the report. Both are part of the freshly signed RCEP trade deal for Asia. What do the tariffs mean for these existing agreements?
Well, it was interesting. I was talking to a trade lawyer, and they were saying that when trade deals don't work, they stay in place. It's more about how they actually try and build more trade. So it won't directly affect these things, but it's certainly going to make people think about what they're doing, letting China have such a big role in these free trade deals. On the one hand, it's calling for globalization and for more openness, but at the same time, it's doing what's clearly very protectionist measures against Australia over its comments on Xinjiang and other aspects. So I think it won't directly affect them, but it will certainly make them look a lot less attractive. And going forward, I think it will make the whole notion of signing up for big trade deals a lot less appealing than it has to date.
Clifford Coonan from DW Business, giving us the lowdown on Chinese-Australian relations. Clifford, thank you.